Good morning, 8th grade and coaches. About 10 years ago, seeking a way to add creative work to the 8th grade study of American literature, Ms. G and I conceived of this showcase. We believed the era offered us a chance to celebrate the gifts of a wide range of Americans, and we believed it offered us a platform from which to ask our students to celebrate themselves. The truth is, sometimes we all get bogged down in the details. We go to school, we do the dishes, we rake the leaves, and we forget to lift our eyes up, to lift our voices up, and to celebrate beauty in our world. That is what we will try to do today, celebrate the beauty of our students and our students' voices, inspired by the beauty of the voices of African Americans in Harlem in the beginning of the 20th century. Our tagline for the showcase is, "I am here and I am beautiful." If given space and encouragement, Langston Hughes, the poet of the Renaissance, believed America could be great. He said, "Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love." Welcome to the class of 2022's celebration of the Harlem Renaissance and themselves.
The Harlem Renaissance. The term Harlem Renaissance was coined by Alan Locke, who was a writer, philosopher, and educator. Locke graduated from Harvard in 1907 with a degree in English and philosophy. In 1925, he published an anthology of poetry and essays on African and African American art and literature titled The New Negro, an Interpretation. The book contains the work of many artists during the Harlem Renaissance, like Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Kelly Miller. The book is considered by many as a definitive text of the movement. During the Harlem Renaissance, lots of black artists emerged and displayed their talents for the world to see. One being a sculptor named Selma Burke. She taught herself how to sculpt very young using clay alongside the riverbeds in her hometown. Burke moved to Harlem in 1935 and started teaching at Harlem Community Arts Centers with another woman sculptor, Augusta Savage. In 1936, she got the opportunity to study in Paris with the great Aristide Malot. She returned to the States and in 1940 opened the Selma Burke School of Sculpture in New York City and another in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. In 1944, Burke created a plaque of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The image of the plaque was then used in 1946 by chief engraver John Ray Sinnock for the U.S. dime, and the image can still be seen on the dime today. Her last work was created in 1980. She was 80 years old. It is a bronze statue of Martin Luther King Jr. Some of her work can still be seen at the Smithsonian Museum of American Art. One of the most famous poets of the Harlem Renaissance is Langston Hughes. He learned how to write poems in high school. He wrote the song The Weary Blues. He's known for making a new type of poetry known as jazz poetry. His first novel was titled Not Without Laughter. He wanted black writers to be proud of their heritage and write about it. His ashes can still be seen at the Arthur Schomburg Center in Harlem. Music was a way of entertainment during the Harlem Renaissance, one musician being Duke Ellington, who was an American composer, pianist, and band leader. He performed in the Con Club. A lot of members in Ellington's orchestra thought they were the best jazz players. He voted them into the best orchestra in the history of jazz. Due to his orchestra, Ellington made jazz into an art form with more traditional musical genres. He won an award in 1999, which was a Pulitzer Prize for music.
don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is swing. Makes no difference if the swing is hot. Just give that rhythm everything you got. It don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing.
That's it.
Well, for my Harlem Renaissance, I decided to do the combination of 3 different photographers, including James Van Der Zee. This is him, and the photo that he took is the couple of a married couple, and below there, to the bottom left corner, is a transparent child, which he used by using double exposure, where he took a picture, he then rewinded the film and took another picture over it. Another photographer, Roy DeCarva, he took pictures of African American artists during this time period. He basically documented and showed what was going on for. Without his work, these people would not be African American artists would not be it wouldn't be shown today, or there would be less proof. Next, Charles Teeny Harris. He showed the life of being an African American, the joys and the struggles. And here we have 3 African Americans, one playing the piano and one on a piano, and they seem to be having fun. In this photo, I have 2 people. And they're both fighting with roses. It was kind of the joy with the roses and kind of a struggle to get the roses to be in the right position. Next, we have, this is a picture of a photographer taking a picture of Kyle, and next to him, we used a similar method to James Van Der Zee's double exposure method, but instead I used Photoshop to get a transparent person in there pointing at him. In this one, we have a fun backstage access with, it's basically a bunch of fun. We have a guy dancing, photography, more dancing, and lots of art. In this one, we have the music room showing the musicians, demonstrating musicians as they prepare for their performance here later. Now here we have more of the artist aspects with a person drawing the Cotton Club. And here we have a community of people joining around the table, looking at pictures. This is kind of one of my favorites because I'm in it, and yeah, and basically I really had a hard time putting myself in it. This is This is the same method I used for the other picture with Tiger in it, using Photoshop. Now I have a quote from James Van Der Zee. "Happiness is perfume. You can't pour it on somebody else without getting a few drops on yourself." You can interpret it any way you want to.
Maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe my words didn't matter. Maybe everything I did for you, everything I sacrificed for you, didn't mean nothing to you. How am I supposed to know? Will you tell me? No, you won't. You will tell everyone else, but not me. I wanted someone I can confide in. I wanted you to be someone I could trust. But the little trust I have left for you is sliding down an hourglass like grains of sand. Soon the bottom will fill, and there will be no room for you. I would have given up by then. I will have nothing left to give. I have tried to fix things. You chase for maybe a week, then your old habits start to slip through the cracks. I tried to tell you that the tape is starting to peel. The tape has peeled so much, there is nearly none left. You tell me I am not good enough. I act too happy. I am not pretty enough. What is it I need to be worthy of you? You think I am so innocent, an adorable puppy that has yet to be exposed to the real world, though the real world has already consumed me. You only see the shell of my being, not me. I don't allow you to see me. If I did, you would be on your knees. Society, you are poisonous. There's no antidote to cure the pain you have caused me. This is what you, society, has done to me. You have broken me down until I'm nothing but a husk of a person incapable of feelings, incapable of loving, incapable of trusting, and incapable of being themselves. This is the society we live in.
For my Harlem Renaissance project, I decided to do a collage because I thought that it kind of brings together, like, not just visual arts and not just one specific artist, but like dance and poetry and music. So now I'll explain kind of the parts of the collage. So I chose the Cotton Club as the center for my piece because I thought that it kind of represented the center of Harlem, and you could go there and see lots of different performers and musicians, and the musicians that went there went to be themselves, and that's kind of what the whole Harlem Renaissance is about. So the Cotton Club, it opened in 1920. An African American opened it, and he named it Club Deluxe. And then he sold it to a white gangster, and he changed the name to the Cotton Club in 1923. It's held some of the most widely known performers, and it closed in 1935 due to the Harlem race riots, but then it opened back up in late 1936, but just in a different location. I have lots of different pictures because they represented all the parts, or most of them, and the ones that are like most important to me. So I have like artists and photographers and musicians, but I also have like paintings that the artist painted. And I chose colored and non-colored just to kind of give it a variety. We learned that the Harlem Renaissance was about like people and artists like coming together and being themselves, and I thought that a collage represented that.
Harlem Renaissance. In Harlem, during the 1920s through the 30s, the progressive idealism acted as a refuge for African Americans to be creative and free. James Van Der Zee was one of the most prominent photographers of that period. He focused on how upper-class African Americans were very successful. He used photography to expose the affluence African Americans contributed to society. James Van Der Zee used a style called double exposure, when he took two pictures and placed a different object in the second one, and he overlapped them so it makes a ghostly appearance. Lorna Simpson was not a part of the Harlem Renaissance. She came much later, but she used photo text in her photographs to enhance the meaning, and she explored the lives of African American women. These are two of her photographs. She explores the importance of hair, and she displays prejudice and stereotypes. Gordon Parks is also not a part of the Harlem Renaissance. He took pictures of the Great Depression for the Farm Safety Association. Later, he took pictures of low-income neighborhoods in Chicago and displayed the struggles of being African American. Gordon Parks fought racism with his photography throughout his career. Thank you.
A world of beauty. A world of beauty and light is all we see when we are young. Our eyes holding excitement and zest for life. But when we grow older, all we see are the shadows and the lies of the world, the empty promises, the concealments of the horrors of the past, and the politicians with their lies and propaganda. As the beauty of our youth fades, all we see is darkness. Our eyes begin to grow dark with the sorrow of watching the world's beauty dwindle. All we hear are lies, all we feel is sadness and frustration, when really, all there is beauty hidden in the shadows of deception. Light glides through darkness like a bird flies through the air. Light chases away the shadows and the monsters in the night. Light is beauty, justice, and truth. For light reveals everything that hides in the darkness. And when the sun does come up and chase away the long night to reveal the sleeping earth, to show our weary eyes and once again fill them with joy and excitement, then all we see is beauty.
We all decided to team up and do a ton of recreations and some of our own pictures. So here's some Harlem Renaissance photographers. Carl Van Weiskin was famous for portraying like the happiness of being African American. James Latimer Allen was famous for remaking biblical scenes such as the Virgin Mary with her newborn baby. So CurrentNewz wasn't actually part of the Harlem Renaissance. It was actually an example of a modern photographer. And then finally we have James Van Der Zee, who is the photographer who we're going to be focusing on.
So James Van Der Zee was born June 29, 1886 in Lebanon, Massachusetts. And he won a camera when he was younger. And while he started out with other art forms, once he got that camera, he really developed a passion. And he was just taking pictures all over the place until he got really good. He opened up his own Harlem studio in 1916 when he and his brother moved down to Harlem. And at the age of 82, he had a collection of 75,000 photographs put into like a showcase at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Those photographs lasted over 6 decades of his life.
One of the photos that I recreated was this photo that he took of a wealthy African-American couple in front of a pretty nice bar. So what I did, I kind of modernized it a little bit and also did it at the same time. So instead of using a bike, I took a picture of Kyle and Alana with a, I said bike. Instead of a car, I made it a bike. And it looks pretty simple, but I actually had to get rid of cameras and lights out of here to make it look more, back.
Okay, so James and Z focus more on success and happiness of African American rather than the struggle, and I tried my hardest to kind of recreate some of them.
So after looking at many photos, including James Van Der Zee, we decided to recreate the Harlem Renaissance, the feel and the surroundings of the Harlem Renaissance using costume, lighting, and editing. And I tried to capture the candid feel of the moment. I also tried to make it feel like it was taken in the cotton club. That feel. So this is just a candid shot of just a person at a club just sort of enjoying a drink. And this is something that James Van Der Zee did. He did do candid shots and often at festive places and like celebrations or group like gatherings. This I tried to make it look a lot older because it's a long time ago. And in order to sort of emphasize the characters, I made the background a lot darker but left the foreground the same like lighting, so that it almost has like a cut and paste feel about it. But yeah, it's just all one picture, and it just is like a group gathering at Cotton Club.
James Van Der Zee did a lot of portraits, and portraits aren't really about what the person looks like. It's more about, finding the essence of that person. Like Kyle, I kind of, made it look cut out, so it looks a little bit more old, and a lot of Harlem Renaissance photographers took pictures of artists.
Swing was usually based off of improv. The improvisist was usually like either the main conductor, or instead of like a conductor, like in a general orchestra, it was instead the band leader, who would usually just be the main soloist instead of stand up there at the podium and conduct. Following the solo section, there was usually a call and response started from the trombones to the clarinets, or vice versa. The style of jazz that was most popular was traditional New Orleans jazz. New Orleans was a hub of musical talent, as I'm sure many of you know, and that was usually known as the birthplace of jazz. But when Louis Armstrong came along, after quitting one of the major orchestras in the era, he made his own special improvements on that and called it Chicago-style jazz. Innovation usually changes the lives of many people, including performers and artists. So on the swing, or in the swing era, instead of using a sousaphone or a tuba, they switched to a string bass, which opened up a lot more possibilities, because they could switch from 2/2 time, which is cut time, to 4/4 time, which can make the rhythm more complex and more interesting for the people in the audience. there were usually two types of songs that were played. There were the hot, or the bands that played hot jazz, which is like fast, jumpy, kind of heavy stuff to get the people out of their seats and onto the dance floor, which is kind of like usually what you see at your middle school dances and stuff like that. Or there's the sweet stuff, which is like more sentimental, or kind of like more like a slow dance. Usually in each orchestra, or not orchestra, usually in each band there were around 16 instruments. They were ranged from a drum set to a string bass and everywhere in between. There were usually at least trombones, clarinets, trumpets, drum set, string bass, or sousaphone, and saxophone. Now, Meredith, for a little bit of history on this era.
Okay, so the 1920s were like the roots of swing jazz, and it's 1935 through 1945 was the swing era, but swing jazz was at its most popular. The call and response that David talked about was started by the Fletcher Henderson's orchestra as like an orchestra or big band thing. But the call and response was found in African American Baptist churches, so that's like part of the culture that we had then. The piano was considered a wealthy instrument, so its inclusion in jazz in the modern stride style it made it more accessible and acceptable for wealthier African Americans and white Americans. Louis Armstrong brought a greater emphasis on soloists because he was a good player. The New Orleans jazz was a precursor to swing, so changes were made to that.
The date is June 19th, 1926. It is a hot summer's day in New York City. And there she is, Josephine. She has just arrived in Harlem from her home in Wiggins, Mississippi. But to her, however, Wiggins was far from a home. For her, Harlem is her dream. Harlem is her hope. Harlem is her life. As we all know, the South is a hard place to be for an African American.
I'm finally here.
Josephine doesn't have a lot to her name, but she has a lot to offer. She's an aspiring singer, and good at that is she. Josephine is exploring her new neighborhood. Now she walks past the cafe and decides to get a coffee. Josephine suddenly remembers a time in the South when she was in a cafe, much like this one here, sipping a coffee. A white man walked in and saw her, so he started to yell at her.
I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, hello. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Josephine and the man continued to talk about many things. Art, poetry, singing. They talked about segregation in the South as well. A conversation with the white man is something Josephine rarely did in the South. As they left the cafe, they waved each other goodbye as they went their separate ways. Josephine continued walking down the street, with a smile on her face, humming her favorite song. As she was walking, she accidentally bumped into a white man. Josephine remembered a time when she bumped into a white man in Wiggins.
I'm very sorry, sir. Please don't. I'm crying. I'm sorry, sir.
Well, it's fine. Don't worry.
Josephine is in disbelief about the freedom she has in her new home. She continues walking down the street. While Josephine is walking, she stops in front of a theater. Not seeing a colored or white sewing sign, she decides to go inside. Once inside the theater, she sees a white man walking towards her. Josephine remembers a time in Wiggins when, in search for a bathroom, she stumbled into a whites-only theater.
I'm sorry, sir. I was looking for a bathroom.
I'm calling the sheriff. You don't belong here. Hey, where you going?
I was here to see a show, but...
Wait, come to the right place. Let me show you a bit.
Harlem is Josephine's new home, and she is happy to call it that. Harlem was the home for many minorities during this time period.
Harlem was a home for art.
Harlem was a place where people could feel free.
Harlem was heaven.
The Harlem Renaissance Showcase. So I just want to tell you a little bit about what you missed. The 8th grade students spent the week intensively choosing an area of the Harlem Renaissance they were interested in and celebrating something about that era, which you'll learn about next year, and something about themselves. And we had a lot of performances this morning. You'll see them in the program. 7th graders, come on, you're right here. That you just didn't get to see all of them because you had other good things to do. So 7th graders, you missed college-style lecture about music, some examination of photography and photographic techniques, some original poetry, and more than that. So I'm sorry you couldn't see it all, but when you're sitting here, as well as enjoying what the students a year ahead of you are doing, think about how you might want to celebrate your Harlem Renaissance. All right, Tyler will kick off our show.
The Harlem Renaissance is a very important part of Black history, but it is also a very important part of history itself. African Americans were scared to be themselves because they felt that they weren't as good enough to be called humans. The reason they felt that way is because the world had taught them this with its inequity and racism. During the early 20th century, African Americans started to feel proud about themselves and to enjoy what talent they could bring to the table. Throughout the early 20th century, more African Americans began to explore their culture and discover new crafts and artistic styles. All the people that helped make the Harlem Renaissance, which is one of the most important eras of time, also helped make an opening for African Americans to be themselves and share their passions today. This allowed new genres of music like hip-hop, R&B, and soul, which inspire artists nowadays. This era has inspired African Americans to write books, poems, and be a part of newspapers. Also, it has inspired them to be actors, producers, and film writers, which have grown in popularity because of the great movies and TV shows we watch. It is wonderful how the Harlem Renaissance led to African Americans becoming CEOs, inventors, and artists in this world today, showing the talents that we have and being proud of ourselves during the Harlem Renaissance. This has had a great impact on our culture. And now, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, did y'all see the new artwork?
Yeah.
Hey, this all looks like work made by Aaron Douglas. This one looks like the founding of Chicago. It shows themes of slavery and working African Americans. These were popular themes to use during the Harlem Renaissance.
Oh, that's really cool. This one over here looks like it was inspired by the painting into bondage. It shows the really gloomy image of Africans who are in chains being led to ships that are heading to America. But there's hope in this image. It also shows the pride and inspiration of African Americans.
The color palette in this one seems to copy his, the color palette in this one seems to copy his, not a specific art piece. The message seems to be more bigger and larger groups, shading, power shading, light from smaller groups. This relates to the Harlem Renaissance because most African American artists submitted their work to white artists in order to have their artwork shown before the 1920s and 30s.
This one looks like it was recreated to make a different statement about this painting called Aspiration. Aspiration demonstrates the connection between African American and African culture. African American culture was a really big deal in the Harlem Renaissance.
He is also known as the father of African American art and was a leading figure in the Harlem Renaissance art movement.
Yeah, he moved to Harlem in 1925 where he studied painting techniques and styles.
Aaron used a lot of the techniques and styles that were very common during the Renaissance.
This one doesn't seem to copy his art style.
Oh, that one's mine actually. That's Lois Malouja's. She was an abstract and representational artist back in the Renaissance. This piece is mine, and that one is inspired off of her representational art. That piece is a portrait of her, and in her background is a bunch of her representational and abstract art to represent her hopes and dreams. She was born in Boston, so that meant that the Harlem Renaissance didn't affect her very much.
Oh, it looks like we're late to our dinner party. We better get going.
During the Harlem Renaissance. The banana skirt dance is one of her most famous dances.
They trailblazed with their rule-breaking splits and tricks.
One of their most famous performances came from the 1939 movie Stormy Weather.
popping with their electrifying moves and death-defying stunts and tricks.
That was a little bit of information about dance and the Harlem Renaissance. Thank you so much.
5 years. I grew up going to your house. I remember the smell of your blueberry pancakes. I used to love playing hide and go seek in the backyard. I always hid behind the carriage house. I ran back as far as I could. A stack of wood was always there to hide me from the world. I was always the last one to be found. You knew my favorite type of juice.
Apple juice.
You kept a supply in the back of the refrigerator for me. When I was with you, you made me feel loved. But now when I look back, I can finally see all the things, all the twisted things you told me, all the distorted things you told a 6-year-old. I went home crying, begging to go live with you. But little did I know you were just using me as a messenger. I was just a messenger pigeon to you. You sent knives, which turned into glass shards. My life moved on, so did yours. 5 years later, we are here, still unable to find a solution to the problem that began with you. We are still in this endless loop of unforgiveness, but that's okay. I have become a better person because of you, so thank you. But one day, I have always hoped that you'll see what you did, how you treated the situation. But I am reminded daily by the memory of you that you will never figure out why it's been 5 years.
There are years that ask questions and years that answer.
Zora Neale, person.
Ignorant innocence. I was 4, a small, innocent kindergartner, more so a small, ignorant kindergartner. I'd grown up ignorant to the difference between the boys and girls in my class and thinking that we were all the same. So when I realized I felt more like the boys in my class,
I thought I was different.
I felt as if the label tomboy was enough to explain my feelings.
I thought I was wrong in thinking
I was like the other boys in my class. All the time I spent wasting away outside my body, disconnected from the truth, because I had always been my dad's little girl, and always been my mother's favorite daughter, and I knew that to all these people I was to be ignorant, and I was merely a tomboy. There I went, living as if I felt like a normal girl, living in
A game of hide and seek where I wanted to be the one the seekers forgot about.
Because if I wasn't found, I could continue hiding. But it seemed I hadn't hidden well enough because by the time I was 10, the seekers had caught me. It seemed the label girl had found me. Society had caught up to people. So when the boys in my class stopped considering me as an equal and believed I could be a target of their harassment, my ignorance had caught up as well. No, I was not a tomboy. No, I was not your little girl. No, I wasn't. And when the boys in my class grabbed me and called me profanities as if I hadn't hidden well enough, I closed my closet and locked my doors. No more, I thought. If I acted how people wanted me to, maybe my feelings would pass.
I sculpted myself to society.
In hopes that these things wouldn't bother me.
I sculpted myself to society.
In hopes my parents would be proud of me.
I sculpted myself to society.
In hopes my brain wouldn't confuse me anymore and that society might finally accept me. Your brain kept stopping myself from being a normal person because damn, I wanted to be a boy. I wanted to be equal in society and not care anymore. I wanted to be an ignorant 4-year-old boy who knew he wasn't a girl, and that was fine.
You did what you wanted to. Nobody was in the closet. There wasn't any closet.
Richard Bruce Nugent.
Be okay. The thing about the brain is that it lies. It tells you that you are okay while the world slips through your fingers, resembling sand, which is truthfully just crushed rocks. You see, life is deceitful. It enjoys cutting your legs off and telling you it is your fault that you cannot run. I will try not to tell you what's on my mind because even I am afraid of the things I will think. I am fearful of myself, and I cannot even tell you how terrifying that is. Scientifically, the human body is 60% water, but sometimes we feel empty inside, and sometimes for no reason, and that's okay. I realized that recently. It's okay if happy is not your default setting. It's okay if you block people out sometimes. It's okay. Everything will be okay. My dear, life is jumping off of cliffs and not knowing when you're going to hit the bottom. I don't know how else to explain it. I may be poetic, but I am just as lost as you are. A great person said the beginning of purpose is found in creating something that only you understand. Everything we have said today, everything that will be said today, all of these jumbled words organized into somewhat understandable poems are the beginnings of purpose. Hide and seek has always scared me because I don't like trying not to be found. When I smile sadly in your direction, or when I tell you I'm not okay and don't explain why, that is me trying to be found. I told you I'm lost. We all are. And sometimes we're extremely lucky and we find each other. I am still waiting in this dark room to be found. So life is one giant game of hide and seek, but really, you can't win. Listen to me. That's okay. Loneliness is okay. It gives you time to sort out all those terrifying thoughts, and yes, we are all battling demons. But friend, please remember, we are all armed with the thought that everything will get better. Everything will be okay. We're gonna be okay, I promise. If I can make it through this life with my legs cut off, even when life believed I could not, you can too.
You have me.
I have you. We got this. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. Dreams by Langston Hughes.
Elephant. Time changed how we imagined each other, sheltered from the truth. I don't know how we got here. From fights at night to silence in the day, incapable of forming words on the spot, incapable of expressing your thoughts. Your words scream as my fault over and over again.
Just like an alarm.
Completely alone with my thoughts, the way people see me, it's starting to become what I see when I look at myself. I'm stuck with my thoughts.
Trapped as if I'm an elephant watching a circus. If you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. America never was America to me. It never was America to me. Oh yes, I say it plain, America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be.
There was still segregation in the South. Soon after the Harlem Renaissance was heard about all over the world, a lot of blacks migrated into the North to celebrate the greatness of black youth. But the times in the South were so bad for blacks because they couldn't love a white man or a white woman. They couldn't play any sports or any game or any type of games with a white person. They couldn't live next to each other. Imagine not being a friend of a black person or a white person. The government chose who they were. Blacks were animals. Blacks migrated to the North because they weren't free. When they got to the North, they saw how much blacks were celebrated. Blacks made poems, art pieces, and jazz, which was the first genre of music that was made in America. They took photos, made movies, and most of all, showed the excellence of blacks. They created a backbone for a diverse America. Let's transition into now. Blacks are more welcome now. They have more freedom. They are supported by whites, but still have one string that is holding them back, which is the color of their skin. The color, you may ask? The color stands out. That is the first thing that we all see when a black man is walking down the street. Don't be ashamed if you get scared if you see a black person walking down the street. Just be ashamed if you grab and raise your gun, grab your taser, or grab your purse. There's a weight that is on the backs of black people, which is the reputation that they have. We have the reputation of drug dealers, ex-prisoners or prisoners, killers, and stealers. Although this might not be true for some, as it is true for some whites, but please, don't judge a book by its cover.
That's this year's Harlem Renaissance. I just want to say a quick thank you especially to Kennedy, who really took a lot of leadership to pull us all together. That makes it happen. So next year, 7th graders, as you are 8th graders, you'll be asked whether or not you want to specialize in photography or visual arts or dance or drama or music or poetry or racial pride and identity, and that's sort of how we ended up dividing and coming up with areas of strength. But a quick thank you also to our coaches this week who were exceptional. Thank you guys.